Okay. I hope now you guys can hear me. Can you hear me now? I hope you guys can hear me. Today we are looking at memo, right? So welcome back to COM1110 English Communication Skills, and this is week 14, 1-4, and it's the last week of the semester. How are you guys feeling? Are you excited about this? Um, this is the whole assessment. So basically, you should be done with 60% of your course marks. So you should be done with your test one, test two, assignment, or presentation, and also reflection essay or reflective essay. Okay, so if you have not yet taken any one of these assessments, it's very, very important for you to email me as soon as possible. Please do it before the end of this week. Okay, so please do it this week because I need to key in your marks as soon as possible. And then before you go for your final exam, hopefully you should be able to know 60% of your course marks already. Okay, so I have released your mark for test 2, test 1, and also soon you should be able to see your whole reflective essay assignment and also oral presentation as well. All right, so for your final examination, it will be on 2nd of May 2020, 2 p.m. until 5:15 p.m. Now this is very, very important. If you have any problems with your internet connection, please let me know in advance. Okay, this is very, very important. This is final exam, guys, final exam, and it's 40%. I will be doing a separate session with you guys to talk about final exam. We're going to do a bit of revision, and then I'm gonna also tell you guys about how to properly cite and not copy from any sources, including my own slides and also template that I taught you guys throughout the semester, because I can definitely know if it is not your own words. Okay, so I'll be talking about final exam during your study week, but for now, as I mentioned, I have revealed your test 2 results. Just have a look at it. It's 10% of your marks. Okay, so let's have a look at what we are now left with. So for business writing, you have email, you have letters, and for these two formats, there are different things that you should be able to know by now. So you should be able to write a letter or even an email to complain to, or taking the other side of the world, which is now, on the context of people who is working to reply for that complaint. You can also be tested on your letters of inquiry or request, or replying to an inquiry or request. Now today we'll be looking at the last type of business writing, which is on memo. So basically, the essence of a memo is that for you to be able to deliver successful, short, and sweet message, right? So maybe you guys are not familiar with memo or memorandum because it's typically used in organization. So maybe when you have started working, you will be able to see something like this, or even this. So typically, the traditional way of memo is that we would print it out. So perhaps this memo would come from the government or even, the HQ of the institution, maybe in KL or somewhere, and then we would print it out and then post it in, like discussion board or like that space where a lot of people would go through, and then we would put it up in at the board. But today, memo today would also come in a form of an email as well. So they would put it like an email, but you would know that it's a memo. Okay, so we'll be talking about the differences between a memo and also email in a bit. But this is how typically a memo would look like. Right. So when we talk about memo, as I mentioned, memo is always referring and also associated with internal office correspondence. Now, as I mentioned, this course will be able to prepare you guys not only in academic setting, but we also want to go further into preparing you into workplace soon once you start working. Therefore, we want to introduce you to this memo. So what basically memo is for is that memo would be able to convey information, request, or provide some responses, or even present informal reports in that memo itself. So what does it mean by a very successful memo? A very good memo should be able to convey meaning in a very short and direct information. Okay, so it should be also easy in the eyes because you don't want to read too much information. You want to keep it short, and then people will immediately understand what you mean, right? So what it does means is that it needs like an adequate spacing, large margin, and also itemized entries. So just now I talk about how traditionally memo is being printed out and then posted in different discussion boards or any kind of boards available around the campus. But memo today sometimes can be inserted or can be um, put up through email as well. So let's see the differences between memo and also email. So for memo, when do you use it? Memo is always used when you want to blast that piece of information to internal organization, basically everybody who works in that institution itself. So sometimes it could be when you want to let people know about some internal changes, maybe the CEO has changed, or maybe some important people have changed, or if there is a new hire, new people working, so you want to let everybody know about it. That could be in a form of a memo as well. Or if it's a certain procedures like safety procedures, or for example, before we start with this quarantine, and you might receive some memo from your institution talking about the online learning, some policies, or even an upcoming event. Whereas email, it's only be composed or directed to some specific people. Sometimes it could be some people in your department, but typically it's not to everyone else. Okay, so when you are writing memo, it has to be very direct, short, and simple. Whereas in email, it always opens with the receiver's name because you have some specific people. So when you have specific people, you wanna show, indicate that kind of rapport or relationship, or to show some friendliness and professionalism a little bit. Therefore, you can make them feel familiarized by opening up with their name. Okay, now let's take a look at the format. So I have made a special folder on Blackboard in week 14's folder. So what in there are some template, one example of memo. So it should be very direct and straightforward. So memo should consist of two important things. The first one is the heading and also the message. So in the heading itself, you need receiver to and the sender from, the date, and also the title. Now, the main difference between memo and also email is that in memo, you do not have to write the email addresses. So I'm going to show you guys in a bit. But when we learn about email before, I stress a lot on professional email addresses. And I think that I penalized quite some of you guys when you did not do professional email addresses in your test tube. So it's very important. But if you choose to do memo, you don't have to write in a form of email address. Rather, you should tell us or write down the position of that person. We're going to have a look at it in a bit, but this is how the format is going to be. In the message, you should firstly introduce um, and tell us the objective of this memo. Number two, give a bit of detail. As I mentioned, some of the objectives of you writing a memo could be because you want to inform people on internal changes or certain procedures or even policies and even an upcoming event. So those information and detail has to be written in separate paragraph in the details in the middle between introduction and also outcome or responses required. And lastly is the outcome, or you can say the concluding part. So typically when you send an email, sorry, a memo, sometimes you would require people to do certain things. For example, RSVP, or, you know, answering some questions via this link, blah, blah, blah. So those are the things that you might want to put in the last paragraph, which is on outcome and also responses. Right? So just like letters, everything has to start from the left. So this is some of the parts of the memo. So it's very direct. I think you guys have, you know, done this before. To is the intended receiver who will be receiving this memo. From is the person and also the department. As I mentioned, uh, when we give you the task, you should be able to know your designation already. Okay? And please make sure that it's serious, it's professional. Therefore, do not write any kinds of nicknames or acronyms. So in parts of the memo, you also need to write your date. So I think I noticed this in your test too, but I don't penalize it. But now I will be going strict with you guys. Therefore, please remember this conventional way of doing it. It's either you want to write 8th of August 2015 Wednesday in bracket, or August 8th, 2015 Wednesday in bracket, or Wednesday 8th of August 2015. Okay, do not write something like this short form, or something like this, or something like this. Okay, please make sure you write the whole full dates, not in a short form. Okay. All right, just like an email, your memo subject or title should be very clear, and it should not be vague. Okay, so depending on the objective of you writing the memo, you should be able to write something that has enough information so that when people read the memo, they will immediately know what are you referring to. So for example, you want to, you know, give a title like notice on the new water rate for 2015 to 2016, or reminder of 2015 company annual meeting, Nestle Dormer promotion to manager, from manager to senior manager, for instance. Okay, do not make it very simple like reminder, promotion notice, new company policy. It's very vague, so you need more detail in your subject as well. Okay, as I mentioned in your introduction, you need to be able to give us a bit of introduction and also explanation on why are you writing this memo, or also what is the essence of the memo. So this is some of the example here. This memo is circulated as a notice to all employees regarding the new water rate to be implemented in the coming year. Details of the rate can be reviewed in the sections below. The company would like to inform all employees of a change in the company structure. Nestle Dormer of the accountant department shall be given a new portfolio as the senior manager effective immediately. Details are as follows. Okay, so how do you begin a memo? So when you want to write a memo, you need a bit of like a polite introduction to it. So these are some of the wonderful words that you might want to use. This memo is circulated to. It is with great pleasure that this memo is informing blah blah blah. This memo serves as a reminder on blah 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 blah. This is the whole example. This memo is circulated to all employees of the company regarding cost-cutting measures the company is currently undertaking. Details are as follows. Okay. Another important thing as well is for you to provide us enough details, which I don't see in your test too. So when we give you guys some tasks, you should be able to create and invent the details. Okay, in order for you to get higher marks in content, you should write more details. So these details has to be invented or created by you. All right. So these for the explanation. For example, okay, you wanna give us the commencement dates or affected department, the rates, blah blah blah. So you might wanna itemize stuff as well because it's easy. And as I mentioned, when it comes to memo, you want a very straightforward and direct information. Okay, so for simple details like dates, it will be much more simpler if you can do something like this. This meeting will be held, date, time, venue, blah, 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 blah. All right. So if you want to call for a meeting, what are some of the information that you think that is required to be inserted in the memo? Some of the important things could be date, time, venue, where is it going to be, or others. If you need them to, bring some documents, like for example, laptop to the meeting. All right, so this is an example. This memo is circulated to call all head of department to the annual company budget meeting of Sonia. Detail of the meeting are as follows. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so this is an example of this. Um, so when you want to inform or announce on something, this is some of the ways for you to make sure that you have enough content. So the first one, try to answer the question on what is the announcement is about. Second, what are the reasons for you to convey this announcement? Third, when will it take effect? When will it commence? Okay, so this is an example of incorporating all of these questions. Use of company telephone is strictly for corporate or marketing purposes only. So this is the announcement, this information that you want to announce. As many employees are using the phones freely, telco bills have gone beyond the company's budget. So that is the reason for you to do this. This reminder and action will take effect immediately. All right. So in order for you to know what are some of the essential information to be written in your memo, you might want to consider, thinking about some questions like what, why, when. Try to be polite as possible because you are reaching out to your colleagues, the people who are working with you. Okay, even if it's like a bad news, like for example, you want to cut some budget, still you have to write as polite as possible. So as I mentioned, it would be great if you can divide each item according to different categories or itemize things using numbers and letters. Okay. Um, so in the closure or conclusion, you need to highlight some of the things that is mentioned in the memo. So you can use these wonderful words here. For example, the company requests that all head of departments take note on this change and inform your respective department treasurer on the new rate. Thank you. Or the management hereby requests that all senior staff members be alert of the promotion of Mrs. Dolmer. Please make changes to the company's roster in your department accordingly. Okay. So as I mentioned, when you want to conclude a memo, you might want to remind people who are reading the memo on what they should do after they read the memo. So for example, you want to say, please file a copy of this memo to each representative department announcement file. Or please maintain punctuality in coming to the meeting because you want to remind them on the essence of the whole memo. You also want to show a bit of emotion. For example, if this is about, you know, like cutting down some budget, you might want to sound a bit strict about it. Or if it's a happy occasion, like for instance, it's a new upcoming event or maybe a new promotion, you might want to show like a happiness to it, like This is an example of being strict. The company hopes that all employees will adhere to the flexible working hours regulation during the fasting month. Okay, so it's like basically trying to show that even though it's fasting month, you still have to, it's flexible working hours, but you still have to follow the times that we have given you. Okay, so let's see. One does not simply master memo without practice. That's the meme for today. Let's have a look at the context that we are doing today. So, for your final exam, it could be something that is similar to this kind of question. So, normally, typically in your exam, you would be able to, you would be given a role immediately. You would know who are you in this context. So here you are the secretary of the Halloween Ball Organization Committee. You are requested by the organizing chairperson to inform all employees of Hawk Institute regarding a Halloween ball to be held by your committee. Details to be included in the memo are venue of the event, including the time and also the date, attire to be worn for the event according to a theme, the price of the admission ticket. This is something very similar that you can see in your final exam. Now, before you do this, one of the challenges that if you were to, for example, write a memo regarding like an event, one of the important thing is that you have to understand the context. So here you are the secretary, okay? Are you working for this company? Yes, you are, okay? The second challenge is for you to create an event. So in the back of your mind, in the back of your head, you should be able to organize a few things already. So before we start, organizing something like an event or a party, you need to understand what is the nature of the event that you are celebrating. So try and answer these questions. When is Halloween? Can somebody tell me when is Halloween? If you don't know, go and Google it. Okay. So do you guys celebrate Halloween as a person? I think in Malaysia we don't really celebrate Halloween very much. And I think honestly Malaysian ghosts are a lot more scarier than, Mak Saleh ghosts. It's just my thought. What do people do on a Halloween? So these are some of the very, very important questions that you might want to incorporate this in the activities that you want to put in your event. And lastly, the question that I want to ask you, if you were to organize a Halloween party, what would be the theme? Because some part of the question is for you to tell us what is the theme already. So you need to be able to organize, you need to be able to write a memo that is based on like a planned event. Okay. So some of the possible themes that can have in for a Halloween party could be zombie apocalypse, murder mystery, animal or zoo, or even haunted house. All right. So now based on this, I want to show you an example of a memo. Not this. So this is an example of the Halloween memo. So first off, as I mentioned, the main difference between an email and also a memo is that you don't have to write the email addresses. So here you want to inform all staff. So to all staff from Mariah Curry, Manager of Human Resource, date 22nd of May 2020. Subject Hawk Institute 2020 Halloween Party. Right, so dear colleagues, this is Maria, representative from 2020 Halloween Party. You are cordially invited to the Hawk Institute Halloween Party. Following are the details for the event. So in your introduction, you should write why are you writing this. Obviously, this memo is written to inform you and to invite you to a Halloween party organized by Hawk Institute. So these are some of the details. So you want to write the date. Now this is very, very important. So here the date that you send out the memo is on May. Make sure that the date of the event is later than the day of the memo, because some of students, they're very silly. They forgot about dates suddenly. So make sure this is later than the email, the date that it was being sent, and then when is it, what date, time, venue, theme, immediately zombie apocalypse, and then the price of the ticket. So let's have a look into how you can um, create more details in terms of content for a memo. So you have to mostly talk about the event itself. So since the theme is zombie apocalypse, you are encouraged to dress according to the theme. There will also be best dress award, which the two best dressed colleagues, one male and one female, will be getting coupons for 3 days, 2 nights at Awana Genting Highlands Resort. You would be expecting a lot of games and activities throughout the evening, such as Frankenstein bowling, pumpkin carving, carving competition. Craving is when you want to eat something, okay? Pumpkin carving competition, donuts, eating race, and many more. For each activity, special prizes will be provided. Now, please take note, prize and also prize are totally two different things. Prize, you have to pay. Prize are like gifts, okay? So, as Palace of Golden Horses is known for its special buffet, you can expect good food during the event. On top of the signature hotel's buffet, you will also be getting special desserts such as candy apples, gummy worms, cheesy spiders, and fat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to satisfy your sweet cravings. On behalf of the committee, on behalf of the organizing committee, we cannot wait to welcome you to our special Zombie Apocalypse Halloween party. The early bird ticket will be open starting tomorrow, and only the first 35 colleagues can get the early bird prize. To join this event, please RSVP via email. So here, because this is the closing, you have to remind people again what kind of activity is this, and then tell people about what they should do after this. You want to inform them that the ticket will be available, and also please RSVP. Thank you. Sorry, this is supposed to be thank you. And then your name and also your position. So your position here is the human resource manager, but at the same time, you are also the secretary of the Halloween party. So this is very simple. This is an example of the memo for Halloween. I will be uploading this in Blackboard so that you can refer to this and study on this. Okay, so that's all for memo. I will be doing one more video regarding your test 2 results so that you can learn and improve from your test 2. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys. Um, so have a good rest, everyone.